that more serotonin is produced in our gut than in our brain, which is really shocking to me. When we have a heart attack, it's very alarming. We know that, if we don't do something about a heart attack right now, it might be like we might end our life.
But more than anything, you need to know to listen to your gut.
So do you think there's lack of education in this particular body part?
It is not lack of education, it is overburdening with unnecessary information.
And here is another episode of Deep Talks. The reason I created Deep Talks is to have very candid and easy flowing conversations with top experts from the industry, from whom we can really learn, get some knowledge, and make some real lifestyle changes in our life to make our life slightly better. And that's what we're going to do today. Actually, I'm a little bit more excited than I've ever been for any of my pods before, because we will be talking about gut health. We all go through gut health issues, right? But how many of us take it seriously, go see a doctor, understand what's really going on? We know now with the science and with all the studies and research that's going on that there are about 100 trillion microbiomes, etc., in our gut. And all of them are having some sort of party, inside our gut. And how do we keep them happy? What do we need to feed them? Are we doing the right thing? Let's learn about all of this and much more. In our show today, we have Dr. Prithvi. She's a gastroenterologist, and she has worked in Dubai and in India, working on gut health for a number of years. She's been part of some research papers. I've seen her interviews carried by different publications around the world. She speaks in various conferences. So let's just dive in and get to learn about what we need to do to optimize our gut health. Dr. Prithvi, it's great to have you in our show.
Thank you, my pleasure.
So we will be talking about gut health in our show today, and there is so much of content out there, right? And it's everybody's saying something, and we pick up something on day one, and then the next day we pick up something else. We don't know what is right, what we need to do to make sure that our gut remains healthy, right? So before we get into the details and the depth of that, let me ask you with the basic question. What is a microbiome? What are microbiomes? And when we say we have like trillions of microbiomes in our gut, that's like more than a community. That's probably a country in itself or a universe in itself, right? So we have a universe in our gut that's doing things, affecting our immune system, our emotional health, our physical health, and so much more. So what are these microbiomes?
First of all, thank you for inviting me here. And we'll be having a conversation about my favorite topic, gut
Right.
health, right? And you are starting with a deep topic, a deep talks. with
Welcome
a
to Deep Talks.
Yes, we are starting with a deep topic, I should say, and the best. Microbiome itself is like a ecosystem inside us. I would say it's almost like a forest that is alive inside us. We have more microbiome compared to the number of cells in our body.
Right.
Imagine that. So, like you said, 100 trillion or 10 to the power of 14, whoever is good in math. Okay.
Wow.
Now, imagine all of them are thriving inside us, and it's our responsibility to feed them. Why? Because they are responsible in giving us a good immunity, giving us, if I say that they give us the right mood, I wouldn't be wrong. Let's dive into this much more deeper in further questions, but I would like to say the microbiome is like families of microorganisms. It's not just bacteria, it's even fungus. And there are good bacteria, but again, the good bacteria inside us can be bad for us when they overgrow their population that they're supposed to.
Right.
And there are different parts of our gut, right? There is small intestine. In small intestine, there are 3 parts. I don't want to go into the boring part of it, but let's just understand that few microorganisms are supposed to be in the lower part of the small intestine or in the large colon, and then they come and overpopulate in the proximal or the right next to the stomach.
Right.
Even if they're good and they're supposed to be elsewhere, they come to another place and then they overpopulate, and then you have symptoms or you have different diseases by the good bacteria itself. So the balance is important, and what kind of microorganisms you have is important. And nowadays the research is so much, and probably a decade down the lane we would realize that microbiome is the center of everything in our body, not just our health, our immune system, our fatty liver, our moods, our hormones, everything.
Right. So when you say that bacteria, fungi, viruses, etc., they all make up what microbiomes are in
Yes.
totality.
Yes.
Right. And when these microbiomes, you're saying, move from one part of our gut to another, how is that happening all the time? Are they like, and when you see under a microscope, are they like these little creatures crawling up and down?
Yes,
How does it look under a microscope?
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
They look magnificent. And when you use the stains, it depends on what you're looking under, what kind of microscope. Usually they're gram positive, meaning they take up the stain that you see, and they are colorful
They're colorful.
and they are different shapes. Yeah, it's like there's a living forest inside us.
Right. And is that what I know is they're not only in the gut, right? I think on our skin as we speak right now,
Yes.
all over us,
Yes.
there are these little microbiomes.
Yes, in your oral cavity, on your skin. Yes.
And then and when you see them under a microscope right now, so if I have to see my skin of my hand under a microscope, I would probably see these little parasites sort of a thing walking and creeping from one part to another.
Yeah, I mean, parasites we call for the bigger organisms. Yes,
Ah.
these are, they coexist with us.
They
and
coexist.
They make us what we are.
Right.
They
Right.
define us, in fact.
Right. So so the microbiome health, what is that one? I know there might be multiple different kind of nutrients that they must be feeding on, but what is that one nutrient that all of them love?
So you must have heard of probiotics.
Probiotic, yeah.
That is nothing but gut microbiome, what we're talking about. But you must have heard about prebiotics.
Yes.
Yes. So prebiotics nothing but what we feed for the bacteria.
Right.
So if you're taking good fiber, then that is a food for the bacteria. Again, what bacteria loves what and what it thrives on also depends. What you feed, it becomes that. It's like what we are what we eat, right?
Yes.
Now there are certain foods that make these bacteria active
Yeah.
and make them do the right form of work. And those are good fibers. Again, in fibers, there is insoluble and soluble. I think if we have time, we can go into that as well. So let's keep it simple. Fibers are good for bacteria.
Fibers are good for bacteria, and that's prebiotic.
Yes.
So what is probiotic? I know I'm shooting the gun. I had this question for you later, but since we are talking about it now.
This is the fun of having a good conversation,
Absolutely.
right?
A good candid chat.
Yeah. So probiotic is nothing but you are feeding good bacteria. The families of bacteria that are inside you,
Yeah.
which becomes deficient at some particular point of time, then you take the good bacteria or fermented foods, which has bacteria, living bacteria in it, which are good for your gut. That is probiotic.
Okay.
So
I get it.
prebiotic is a food for bacteria. Probiotic is a good gut bacteria.
Got it. So that's probiotic is a bacteria that we want to consume
Yes.
in case there is lacking of some bacteria in our gut.
Correct.
And prebiotic is a food for the existing bacteria
Right.
that is in our system,
Right.
in our gut.
You consume the bacteria and then you don't give it food, it dies.
Ah, got it.
So it
That's
has to be a
interesting.
combination of pre and probiotics.
Right. So this might sound a little weird, but if I might ask you that, if I am out there gardening or playing football or playing any outdoor sport, and then my hands are covered with mud, or I have a pet and I'm taking it for a walk outside, and I'm touching different kind of outdoor natural or unnatural stuff. So would that mean that my hands are now full of microbiomes, and some of them could be part of my body or consume it in some shape or form?
Well, a very good question. See, I am not talking as Dr. Prithvi. I am, giving you information based on few studies that's been done,
Yeah.
right? And papers that's been published through years of research. And what it says is, kids who have grown up with pets,
Yeah.
kids who have gone out and played in the soil, the mud, so they have better immunity going forward.
Right.
And the basis of this depends on what they consume, what goes into their body. When you're a child, I'm not saying being dirty is good. I'm just saying over time there are few bacteria that enters into you through environment, which builds your immunity.
Right.
And this is nothing but bacteria, good bacteria. And your body develops the mechanism, antibodies, the strength to deal with further infections going forwards.
Right.
So if you have kids at home, or if you want to go out and play, it's never too late.
Right.
You should be exposed to the environment. This pet thing which you spoke about, which is very, very interesting. I read 3 papers about it. Kids who grew up with dogs had very good health going forward. And then they went into depth of it, and then they found it's nothing but the gut bacteria.
Right.
Probably they were in a better mood. I don't know. It's just my guess. Along with the bacteria, again, we should cover this as well. Mood is also dependent on the gut bacteria.
Right. There's so much dependent on gut bacteria. So I think it's advisable to go out there, dirty your hands a little bit. I think I should start doing gardening more, get some bacteria, more bacteria in my gut.
Yeah, not just, let's not make it sound like it's, you have to wash your hand,
Yeah.
of course. And if you've
Now
got.
you're speaking like a doctor.
No, we don't want unnecessary bacteria and all those pathogens entering us.
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
can't
of
filter
course.
that and consume specifically. But yes, being exposed to it actually has a
Yeah.
added advantage. And again, if you have cooked, if you have experience with cooking, and if you've made any probiotics or at home, they always say use your hands.
Yeah.
Right? So because your hand, like you said, skin has microorganisms. So that also enters into it, then multiplies. And there's a
Yeah.
whole lot of science behind cooking as well.
That's so interesting. I'm just going a little off topic, but during COVID times, when we were washing our hands almost every 10 minutes, possibly then killing a lot of bacteria, microbiomes from our hands. And that, do you think that has in some way or the other affected our gut, where not enough microbiomes probably would have entered our system through just by the process of washing hands more regularly?
Yes, there were few who overdid it. I would say a lot of people who overdid it. But yes, it definitely has affected. And also the stress during COVID.
Yeah.
The stress itself changes the gut microbiome. If there is if you study in a single person, the gut microbiome during the normal phases, when you're relaxed, and on stressful phases, it will change.
Right.
So the stress changes it, and the change in microbiome also causes stress.
Right. So is it safe to say, or is it right to say that we probably have 10,000 to 20,000 different species of microbiomes and bacteria and viruses in our gut?
Absolutely.
And each of these microbiomes have a different requirement of nutrients or food that they thrive on. Is that right?
Yeah, different but similar. Like
Right.
I said, fibers are a good supplement, good nutrition for them. And again, you give them processed food, then they die. So yes, food is very important.
Food is important. Yeah, obviously, we are what we eat. But how much do we really take this seriously is a deeper question. We'll talk about microbiomes for a little more time and then move on to some other subjects. So when these microbiomes get the nutrients that they need, so then they multiply, if I'm not wrong. And how frequently do they multiply? Are they growing every 10 minutes or are they growing every day? How does this process of multiplying work?
Death and multiplication happens every second as we speak.
Every second?
Yes.
Wow.
They're microorganisms. They are at cellular level, and their life cycle is very small.
Yeah.
So they die, they multiply. Yes, it's at cellular level and very quick.
Right. So we're like we are humans, we are walking on this planet, and we are sort of carriers as well. We are carrying like trillions of little real organisms in our body, on our skin, and we need to feed them in the right way. We never think of it like that. We are living our life, but we never think that there are little microorganisms feeding off us, and we should be taking care of them so that we have a better quality of life.
Absolutely. And this gets me thinking, when you say listen to your gut, are you actually listening to your gut or these microorganisms? Because there's a crosstalk. It's not just your gut speaking to you, it's those microbes as well telling you something.
That's and on that front, let me ask you one question. How do we are moving now from microbiomes to more personal gut health? How do we know that we have an issue with our gut? You know, when we have a heart attack, it's very alarming. We know that, if we don't do something about a heart attack right now, it might be like we might end our life. Uh, we might lose our life. But what about gut? We have stomach attacks every single day, but no one takes it seriously. So, how do you first know that there is something wrong with your gut and you should be seeing a doctor?
Very good question. Why are we not alarmed with gut attacks rather than, cardiac attacks or heart attacks? Well, probably we are very tunnel vision that way. We are just, heart attacks, your number of days are decreased, whereas stomach problems, gut issues, nevertheless, your entire life becomes upside down. You're not worried about it because it's not about the longevity. So I think we should think in a broader way that, our gut is responsible for not just our health, our life itself. So coming back to your question, how do you know that your gut is not right? Like you said, you have your gut signaling you that something is wrong, and what are those symptoms,
Yeah,
right? Right from let me start with hair fall. You suddenly start having hair fall, skin changes, or you feel like your skin is getting dry, scaling, eruptions, or you're feeling fatigue. As simple as that, you're feeling tired. Sleep is disturbed, you're unable to sleep properly, the quality of sleep is disturbed, or the number of hours of sleep is disturbed. See, all of this is a signal that something is not right in your health, and in fact most often it comes from the gut.
right.
Yeah. And when you're talking specifically about the gut, as simple as heartburn, which we neglect and we go over the counter, pick up something and pop in, and then bloating. Bloating, be it just the gas feeling that you have, or the burps or increased farts, all of these are signals from your gut that something is not right. As
Right.
subtle symptoms of this, and again, when I talk about bowel movements, what I've figured out is there is a lot of confusion about it. I have people coming to me saying that I think I have constipation, I think I
Right.
have diarrhea. See, it's not textbook definition. What is constipation for me might not be for you.
Yeah.
So you need to know what is your proper bowel movements, and whenever that changes, that is also alarming symptoms.
Right.
If you were having a bowel movement once per day and then it becomes 3 times or once in 3 days, that definitely has to take you to the doctor. And then when you talk about red flags,
Hmm.
like red flags in a relationship, there is red flag in gut health as well. Bleeding, bleeding in your poop, or bleeding when you have some, morning when you brush, you find something bleeding along with your saliva, or when you feel like you're losing weight
Right.
unintentionally, or you're not feeling hungry, or if you're feeling hungry very frequently. So, all of these are nothing but your gut signaling that something is not right, either in your gut or in your body.
Yeah. But do you think that there's a lack of education where people don't take it seriously because they feel, oh, it's only a gut issue, there is some stomach issue, it should be fine in another couple of days, and then it over time becomes chronic, they would still not see a doctor? Do you think there's lack of education in this particular body part?
Probably, I would say at this age, it is not lack of education, it is overburdening with unnecessary information. And people are unable to filter out what is the right information and what is not.
Yeah.
So, in fact, filtering out what to listen to, what to understand, and whom to listen to is also important, because there is a lot of information out there right now. Rather than lack of information, there is a lot of unnecessary and negative information that takes you on a roller coaster ride when it comes to gut health.
Right.
So everybody is a gut expert nowadays, so you
That's
need to
true.
know what to follow and
Yeah.
whom to listen to. But more than anything, you need to know to listen to your gut.
Right. So that's important. I think we all face gut issues from time to time, but I don't see people saying, "Oh, I'm going to a doctor to show my gut," and that should change. I think that and because if such a huge part, a significant part of our immune system is dependent on our gut, I think from where see it, more education is also needed, where people need to be made aware that how important your gut is. And if there is something that's troubling you, go see a doctor. That's where you'll find your answers.
Absolutely. And the right doctor for the right symptom.
And the right doctor. That's important. That's why we have you here, to have this candid chat about everything related to gut. Now, coffee is something that we all drink, or almost most of the people drink, and sometimes 2 to 3 to 4 cups a day. So what I wanted to ask you next is, how many cups of coffee is okay in a day? And is coffee okay early morning as you wake up, empty stomach? Perhaps probably you had a couple of glasses of water, but then is coffee right after that okay or not?
Uh, my favorite topic again. So you're speaking to a coffee lover. Again, there is studies about beneficial effects of coffee.
Right.
A lot of them, in fact, in the right from, if I'm not wrong, from 2010 onwards, and from Harvard Medical School, right from there, all over the globe, they have studied about coffee and its gut health. When I talk about gut, it's not just the tubes that we're talking about, not just intestine, food pipe, or stomach. Liver is also a part of digestion, a
Right.
digestive
Of
system.
course, yes.
So, what has been found is coffee, especially black coffee, which has not got any sweeteners in it and without milk. A black coffee, up to 3 to 5 glasses per day, it reverses the changes, bad changes that happens in the liver.
Right.
So, when you're talking about fatty liver, that is also very common nowadays. You don't have to be alcoholic to have fatty liver. We have seen metabolism changes that causes fatty liver.
Right.
You don't have to be fat to have fatty liver. There are lean people with fatty liver. Now, it has become one of the alarming things that we want people to look into, and again, being neglected by a lot of people. It was found that 3 to 5 cups of black coffee was beneficial in reversing these unwanted changes in the liver.
Right.
So it was beneficial. It is beneficial. Again, when you're talking about more than 5 cups, there was no changes. So I would say restrict between 3 to 5 cups. When I say, it's not just me, Dr. Prithvi, talking about it, it's about the research.
Right.
Now, it is beneficial for the fatty liver. Now, again, we should always remember, we have seen people having coffee with a cigarette. Now, you will be balancing it with unwanted things
Of
that is
course.
entering your system. So that, excluding all those, excluding the sugar, excluding the cigarette, excluding everything that accompanies it, yes, black coffee is beneficial for the liver. Again, limited number of cups. When do you take it? If you are prone for gastritis, if you have acidity symptoms, meaning if you've got abdominal complaints like gases, bloating, reflux, do not take coffee. Try to avoid it. And if you're taking it, take it after your meals or sometime in between your meals,
Right.
where the acid is lower. So it doesn't actually increase it, rather than the first thing in the morning.
Right. So to sum this up, coffee is great. 3 to 5 cups. Black coffee. But if you have some issues with gas or acidity, then having it first thing in the morning might not be the right approach
Yes.
for your gut.
Yes.
Right. That's interesting. But obviously, everybody is different. I mean, there are probably 8 billion humans on the planet. Everybody looks different except for identical twins. And each one of us are designed in a different way. Our gut is designed in a different way. Would 3 to 5 cups of coffee be generalized for everyone, or it all depends on your system?
Again, when you talk about, I'm glad you brought in twins. Even when you talk about twins, identical or non-identical twins, over a period of time, their gut microbiome is different. So it is as specific or more specific than your fingerprint, I should say. So
Right,
it is individualized. So it goes without saying everybody's system and the way you can accept it is different.
right,
So when they talk about these studies being beneficial, it's never 100%.
right,
So when you have side effects like as simple as a coffee can cause tremors,
yeah,
shake, like increase in heart rate. So they will not be able to consume it. So side effects apart, so those who can consume it, I'm not like pro coffee that you should, it's not a medicine, it's not a miracle, but yes, there has been beneficial effects, again not 100%.
right,
Good, we
yeah.
covered this. Yeah.
So yeah, this is not obviously a medical advice.
Yes.
Consult your doctor, talk to whoever the expert is before. So anything that we are creating right now in terms of content is just for learning purposes, but obviously everybody's different. For your own medical advice, you need to see your doctor or your medical professional or someone who's an expert around you. Now, moving on from coffee, since you spoke about fingerprints, I heard I heard someone saying that the number of microbiomes on our thumb right now is more than possibly the population of UK, and that's an interesting fact and data, right? Now, with all the research going on and data work going on, do you think our genetics and our microbiomes will be designed in labs in the future so that it helps our genetics probably to live longer or to have a better immune system? How, and if that's the case, then are we close to something of this sort happening in our lifetime, or is it going to take longer?
Let me give you an interesting fact. If there are siblings,
Yeah,
one is born by C-section, cesarean, and the other is born by normal vaginal delivery, their gut microbiome is going to be totally different. So what I'm
right,
saying is not just the genetics, the way you were born also has an impact on your gut microbiome.
right,
So what you start eating, if you're being breastfed, it's different. If you're giving formula feeds, it's different. And again, it defines you over years. What you are, your individual self, is defined by, I would say, more than 20-30% by this microbiome. And over time, there were studies which were conducted in obese people, lean people, for people who never put on weight no
right.
matter what they ate. I have this again when there's couple who come to me as patients, the wife complaining that my husband eats anything and everything and he never puts on weight, and I just have a snack and then next day my weight goes up. So it's not just about your metabolism, and in fact metabolism is also depending on the microbiome. And yes, there's going to be, this is the future, this is the future, and there are a lot of researchers, there will be many more, and it's going to be beneficial, no
Right.
doubt about it.
That's good. I mean, that's what the whole point of science is, right? To make our lives better. Now, we the kind of lifestyle we live, we're always under stress, working around the clock, probably eat any junk food that we get, drink water out of plastic bottles all the time. So let's talk about this plastic bottle drinking habit. Do these microplastics affect our gut health in some way? I'm sure, as a layman, I would think they do.
Yes.
But because it's so convenient and easy and plastic is cheap, it's easily available. So what are your thoughts on drinking water off these plastic bottles?
First of all, thanks for serving coffee in this ceramic mug.
Yeah.
Ceramic is safe.
With the deep branding.
Yeah. So ceramic is safe.
Ceramic is safe.
Stainless steel is safe.
Right.
Let me start with that. And glass is safe.
Yeah.
Again, the quality of glass also. Plastic is a long topic and a very important one. When we talk about microplastics, now I don't think many know what microplastic is. These are less than 5 millimeter particles of plastic that can be found when you talk about the marine life. Unfortunately, the fishes, the oysters, you name it, they have more plastics in their body than you can imagine. So that's all man made, right? When plastics were discovered, it was like a miracle container to begin with. As you know, there was a lot of hoo-ha about it, but then
Right.
now it's one of the disasters that we have introduced, unfortunately. And I'm a fan of sustainability, I should say this, but then again, BPA free plastics all have come out, which are safer apparently. Talking about what exactly it does to your health, there's not been a clearly defined study which pinpoints and says this much plastic, or drinking these many bottles of plastic water causes this. But there has been a few pointers at that. There was a study which was in New England Journal of Medicine, where patients with cardiac blocks were studied, and then the blocks those arteries containing more plastic material, micro or nanoplastics, were more prone for these blocks. But again, it was not
Conclusive. Right.
And then again, what you consume, how much of micro and nanoplastic it has, not just what you consume, the air you breathe, and what it is causing inside your body. There is no conclusive reports of it, but I would rather stay away from it, knowing all of this. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's I've done my research too, and I know that there's not enough study and not enough conclusions about drinking water.
But
water
do we
bottles.
have to wait for the conclusion?
Yeah.
Is
So the whole point is that that try and use products like glass, stainless steel
Correct.
as much as you can,
Yeah.
and there will be times when you obviously have plastic bottles to drink water off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's not like untouchable thing.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
absolutely.
Right.
And I think I should add on, what you consume is very important, because there was an interesting thing I just read in a book that during Roman Empire, they had this pipes which was rich in lead. And over time, these soldiers in the empire, they developed gout.
Okay.
So you are what you consume, and over time it does have a some sort of reaction in your body. Whenever these are micronutrients, see, lead is something, or mercury, copper, all of these are very minute things which you don't consume every day.
Right.
And in fact, copper is important when consumed in lower levels. We need to know the limit and to what extent we need to consume. Even a good ingredient can be bad over time if it gets accumulated more than the threshold.
Right. Right. Great. So now moving on from coffee, let's talk about some other products which are probiotics like yogurt or kimchi. And there are a number of products like these which are good for gut health. What do you think of those? And if it's a yogurt, for example, do you think it should be prepared? We get yogurts with different flavors, sweeteners, etc., that you buy off shelves, right? Or do you think it's advisable to make yogurt at home, as you said, with your hands, so you can get some extra microbiomes in there? So tell us about these products that are marketed as they're helpful for the gut.
Probiotics are definitely helpful for the gut, but not flavored yogurts. So, because the entire point of consuming these is to increase your good bacteria.
Yeah.
So, when you look into these flavored yogurts and then these, big brands also, the number of live bacteria in them, by the time you consume it, is near to zero.
Right.
So, what's the point? So, when you prepare it at home, I am a big fan of home cooking. I've seen people who tell me they don't have time to cook, which is very unfortunate. That is what makes you what you are. And you have to take time out and know what is entering your body. And probiotics are the best. If you've not had an opportunity to prepare any probiotic, like you said, uh, yogurt or kimchi or sauerkraut, I think you should. It's so much fun. Even as simple as cabbage is a good form of fiber, and all you have to do is ferment it over 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
And the process of mixing it with the salt with your bare hands, that's fun. I think people should start enjoying it, and then making their own probiotics and then having it in limited portions, and nothing can be a better gift for yourself.
Yeah. Like I said, I think people just take it for granted until it reaches a point where you're forced to do all this. But I think if you understand and take this seriously of how important your gut health is in every little thing that you're doing in life, then probably I'll try and get some yogurt made at home today after this pod.
Please do, and I'm sure you'll enjoy the process and also go into few. And kimchi can be made in various
Yeah.
flavors, and you can experiment with it. And in fact, people find it much more easier to go to the pharmacy and take a probiotic supplement.
Yeah. How about
The
that?
pharmaceutical companies are going to hate me for this. No, it's not supposed to be taken every day. It is meant as a prescription for a reason. If there is a reason that doctor is prescribing to you, and for a certain number of days, and even in that there is various combinations. If
Yeah.
you go through the content of the probiotics, it is given for certain conditions
Yeah.
and for a certain reason, and not for everybody every day.
Okay, that's interesting, right? Now, there's a lot of talk about intermittent fasting and how it resets your gut. If you're eating 8 hours a day and then fasting for 16 hours, there are a lot of content that I see people fasting for 2 days, 3 days. That could be also dangerous. So everyone has to look at their own bodies and their physical health before taking actions like these. But what is your view on intermittent fasting?
Intermittent fasting, again, obviously a fan of that.
Right.
What suits you, you should know. It's not just that Dr. Prithvi says you should fast for 10 hours, 6 hours, and you start doing it, or 16 hours. But then it is about your body being able to take certain number of hours of fasting. Now, generally speaking, fasting has a lot of advantages. Right from it, it is anti-inflammatory, meaning there is inflammatory mediators in our body
Yeah.
when there is an inflammation, and fasting itself brings down the inflammation. And resting, see what good does resting does to you, right? You come back with rejuvenated and stuff like that. Same for gut, it needs rest. So this is one organ which needs rest, unlike heart, which
Right.
needs to keep beating the entire life. Gut needs rest.
And
And
fasting
it needs
gives
to
that.
rejuvenate. Yes, the right bacteria grows in that rest period.
Right.
And it's less of stress. You can't keep dumping food into your gut and never let it relax.
Yeah.
It needs timing. And that's why, for few people, 1 meal per day is enough. But for few, 3 meals is a mandatory. Again, depends on your acidity levels in the stomach, how much your body can take, how much your digestive system can take it. In general, like I think from centuries, our ancestors are doing this.
Yeah.
Any religion, you talk about any part of the world, fasting is a mandatory in
Yes.
certain period at least once in a week. And like now Ramadan period is going on.
Yeah.
Fasting is very beneficial. But again,
We
if
should
you
know
are
our body.
yes.
Yeah. Right. Now, this psyllium husk, which is isabgol, and since I was a kid, I've been hearing about isabgol and the benefits it has. I think it provides a lot of fiber into your diet. Is it advisable to be taking isabgol every day, and if yes, how do you take it? Do you take it with warm water? Do you take it with cold water? There are too many different theories behind it.
First of all, no, you shouldn't be taking it every day. If you need to take it every day, then there's an issue. You need to consult your doctor,
Right.
because you are supposed to have a balanced meal and
Mhm.
have a normal bowel movement that is normal for you, like we spoke about earlier. It could be once a day, once in 2 days, or even twice per day. It has to be normal for you.
Right.
And isabgol is only to increase the when you feel constipated on certain occasions. Yes, any of these laxatives, these comes under the umbrella of laxative, where
Yeah.
it helps your bowel movements.
Right.
So if you're having as isabgol every day, that means you're not having proper bowel movements. That means there's something
A
your gut is
deeper issue.
telling you.
Yeah.
So definitely not every day. And on prescription basis, if you're going having a problem with constipation, there are again a lot of things that comes under that laxative, where there is smoothing agent, there is bulking agent, and then there is more, you take in more fluid. Before taking isabgol, I would definitely advise check your water intake
Right.
every day.
Right.
It has to be along with a lot of water, at least minimum, depending on if you're an athlete, if you're spending outdoors, then you will require more than a person who's been indoors. So I wouldn't say 2 liters or 4 liters,
Right.
because it also depends on your activities. But yes, see that you consume enough water. And again, good fiber is good enough to have a good bowel movements. You don't need isabgol.
Right. Okay. So now moving on from the kind of food we intake to our emotional wellness and how it is related to our gut health. Tell us about that. How stress and the kind of pressure that we go through on a everyday life affects our gut, and vice versa. Because I've heard that more serotonin is produced in our gut than in our brain, which is really shocking to me. And are these neurotransmitters always talking to the brain, sending signals from your gut? Tell us a little bit about this and how do we manage it better?
So serotonin, dopamine, all these happy hormones, what
Yeah.
we say, is secreted by the gut. Yeah, you're right. So I would say 1% of it is secreted in the brain.
Are you
So
serious?
yes, and gut is our second brain in other ways, but then when it comes to these feel good hormones, gut is the center. And what you eat also makes a difference in that.
So
And
if I'm eating a McDonald meal, is it going to produce some serotonin or endorphins or I don't know what? Tell us about
that
that.
is about the right from the taste receptors. We'll talk about it, but we were talking about something more interesting.
Yes, sorry.
So coming back to serotonin and
Yeah.
the stress factors affecting your gut and your gut affecting the stress. IBS, I think you've heard about it,
Yes.
irritable bowel syndrome or sensitive gut. It is very much depending on your stress factors. See, if I mean, nowadays we live in a society where it is day in and day out there is stress. Be it you're a homemaker or working outside, does not matter. And unfortunately, this IBS is more in women. And why? Because the stress that they go through is more.
Right.
Whether you believe it or not, it is. And studies say this,
We
not
can
me.
we can have another podcast on
Yes,
that.
not just me. But then unfortunately, they come up with all sort of symptoms like indigestion, as simple as that, to bowel complaints, to pain.
Right.
Can you believe just stress can cause pain in your gut without having ulcers in your gut? So that's the crosstalk that happens every minute between your brain and your gut and these neurotransmitters, which define your mood, your
Energy level.
symptoms, your even digestion. Have you noticed that you have nausea when you're tensed? Where is that
Yes.
coming from? Right, your stress is in your only your brain knows it, but how does your gut knows that you're going through stress?
Right.
There is like, you go rush to the washroom, you have loosies when you are in stress.
Yeah.
When there's some bad news that's given to you, you rush to your washroom. So this is all a crosstalk that happens, and it fantastically is coordinated, and that is where stress management comes into play when it comes to gut health as well.
Wow. What a beautifully designed system this is, right?
Absolutely, it is
And it
fascinating.
forces me to ask a question that when people say it's a gut feeling, is that really what's happening from your gut and the feelings are almost right?
Absolutely. Actually, it's not just a phrase. There is so much of depth to that. When they talk about, your go with your gut feeling,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best phrase I've ever heard and so meaningful because it's not just, what is right. Your body knows what is right for you. Your gut knows what is right for you, right from what is happening around you to what you consume.
Yeah.
For example, if you're intolerant to certain food, let's say you're intolerant to lactose, which can happen in your life at any point of your life, you need not be born with it.
Right.
So your gut is giving you signals that it is not right just by bloating, just by having burps, as simple as that. Now the gut is more intelligent, and when I say that, probably the microbe that are there, they are signaling you,
Yeah.
and
They're
they are
screaming.
absolutely, and they release the serotonin again. So when you feel good, the microbes also inside you know that you
Yeah.
feel good.
Right. Wow. This is very interesting. I still go back to the point that we are just carriers. Maybe, if you look at another universe, uh, we with all our egos as humans, etc. I just feel so small right now. Probably feel that we just been used by these
We are
microbiomes.
controlled.
We are
Yeah.
controlled by them in every single way.
Yeah, yeah.
And we might think whoever we are, but actually they are the real heroes. They are the real players playing us around
And can be villains too.
and can be villains too. So they're controlling us 100%.
Yep.
Right. Well, okay, great. I mean, there are endless questions and endless thoughts in my head right now, but obviously we have lack of time. I'm going to quickly, I made a reel a couple of days ago where I asked people to send some questions if they have for you. And we've got about 5, 6 questions. We'll just run to 2, 3 questions real
Sure,
quick. I'm
sure.
going to use my phone for this. One of the questions we got is, are fennel seeds, ajwain, or ginger actually good for gut health? And what about turmeric water? And should we have it every morning?
Please do. Yes. Yeah, we are from the land of Ayurveda,
Yeah.
India, and I would never go beyond it. When it comes to something that can be corrected by the natural ingredients, yes, definitely go for it. And all the things that you mentioned, ajwain, jeera, turmeric is actually anti-inflammatory.
Yes.
So
It's
definitely yes. If
everyday
it suits you,
consumption.
if it suits you,
If it suits you, of
if
course.
your gut is refusing it, don't force it.
Right. Next question is, have we just become more aware of gut health, or is our gut really changing with age? And how much of today's gut health obsession do you think is science versus just another trend?
No, I think this obsession should continue and should increase. The gut health obsession is a must because our health, not just health, our life depends on it.
Right. Absolutely. All right. The next question is, what are the 5 superfoods that you would recommend to everybody to consume on a daily basis for a good gut health?
So I think we covered one already, turmeric.
Turmeric.
Yeah, it is very good. And if you're okay consuming ginger that suits you, then yes. Anything that has antioxidants. And berries top the list.
Right.
Now, which berry and which part of the world you are, again, depends on that. And when you talk about colorful food, have you heard the platter should be colorful?
Yes.
Yes, the more colorful, better, because then again, each color has different ingredients. For example, red capsicum or carotenes in carrot and beetroot. So all of these colorful, these bright, it's not just for the eyes, for the gut as well.
Right.
So coming back, turmeric again, the what ajwain, jeera, all of that you mentioned, not just 5, I can go on. Berries, multiple berries, and just yesterday I read about one particular berry found in Himalayas. It has got omega 7 fatty acid, which is not usually found. Uh, so they're coming up with all these factors that are responsible, and more than anything, water.
Water.
Hydrate well.
Water. That's very interesting. Okay. We have one question. I think it's a very long question, but I read it a couple of times, so I'm going to frame it my own way. So what they're saying is there are probiotics like yogurt, etc., that we can consume. But what if you have an existing issue with your gut, where your microbiomes are all over the place, and will then consuming these probiotics help, or first we should go for a complete gut reset? completely flush out whatever bad bacteria, and then start with proper probiotics for it to have a better effect on us? I think this is what they meant by this question.
So, when you're talking about a normal, healthy individual
Right.
without a disease, because each person with a different disease, again, we'll have to be specific. A normal person
Yeah.
going with his daily activities, I would say consume natural probiotics for sure. And flushing out, detox, it's absolutely fad. Don't do it. We don't have plumbing system inside us. It is a living, thriving organs,
Yeah.
and you don't need to flush it. You don't
Right.
need to detox it.
Right.
You have to nourish it.
Okay. Okay. One last question from what we've received. Are egg yolks good or bad for gut health? Because there's a lot of people only eating egg whites for
It's
protein
not
content.
bad.
It's not bad.
not bad. Again, depends on whether you're tolerant to it or not.
Yeah.
That's where food intolerance comes in. Again, number what you say. So when you eat something, it's not just what you eat, how much you eat, and when you eat. That also matters.
Right.
On the whole, it's not bad.
Great. Okay. Well, that's interesting, and thank you so much. Let's move on to the next segment. We call it the fun segment, the fire chat.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you about. It's a rapid fire question. I'm going to ask you 3 to 4 questions. You get about 5 seconds to answer each,
Okay.
and give us your honest answers.
Okay.
Great. Let's start. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Okay. What's that one food you never eat for gut health reasons?
I think too much spice.
Right. What's the one food you eat for gut health reasons?
Yogurt.
Yogurt.
Any day, every day.
Right. Is that with every meal?
I can.
Right. What is the one most overrated food that people advise but actually does nothing for your gut?
There are plenty that ways. So underrated, I would say water, and which they don't give it as much value that they should. And overrated, all of these things about a particular food being expensive, like avocado, giving stress on that. Desi ghee, avocado is good, no matter. I mean, I'm not going against it, but you don't have to go in search of it. Desi ghee also has good fat.
Right.
So you don't go in these exquisite items that is unreachable for you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm going beyond 5 seconds, but go for seasonal foods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Desi ghee, a lot of research and a lot of content coming out on how good ghee is
Yes.
For the gut.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And what's one health myth that drives you crazy that you hear?
About flushing your system, about cleansing your system, about detox. We don't have to. Our body is designed such a way that just give it rest and it can, fine tune itself. All you have to do is give good nutrition. Just it's not pipelined inside us.
Right.
Like I said, you don't have to over drain it or flush it. You just have to nourish it. So
Right.
anything that enters is never bottom up. It has to be from the mouth.
Right. Okay. Interesting. And one last question before we move on to the closing of the episode: gold or diamond?
I think I will say a good bank balance to buy both.
That's a great answer. Well, let's say if you have a great bank balance, what would you buy?
Pearls, perhaps. I love them.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Prithvi. I think this has been such an interesting conversation, and there's so much that I've learned from you about gut health. And one thing is to learn it, and the other thing is to implement all the learnings and the knowledge that you have. And I think that's where we all lack. So one thing I want to go and change about myself is implement some of these learnings and the knowledge that I've gained today from you. So thank you for that. Is there any one message that you want to that you have for our audience that you want to leave them with related to gut health?
One statement that I want to make, which everybody knows and never does, is listen to your gut
Mhm.
more than you listen to your spouse.
I think that's now entering a very dangerous.
You need to listen to your gut. Yes.
Need to listen to your gut. But thank you.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
that's great. And thank you so much. And hopefully we'll have you in another show for another gut health podcast in the future. But thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.